before we got on, we talked about intention and intent.
Yeah.
I think that's such a great word. I'm so glad that you brought that up. And as I was playing, I was sort of thinking about that. What is my intention with this line, or am I coming back to this moment and serving the music, right? So kind of being in service of the music. And we were talking a little bit about bass players and another bass player that's been involved in a group that you were talking about. And it's funny that you mentioned that, just sort of the taste and what's appropriate for the music. I was watching a pretty random, I think even anonymous bass player just kind of jamming on some stuff. Couldn't even see his face or anything. And I was kind of like, oh, that's cool, but that fill is just too much. It's cool, it's flashy, but does it serve, with that in a group setting with other people? Is that an individual thing, or is that something that serves the group? And there's levels of taste and working together.
Taste is I'm convinced half you're born with, half you learn.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people haven't learned it. There's your daily snark. But because you'll hear somebody just, grooving along and everything's great. And then they play a fill that sounds like it should be in a different band in another room.
Yeah.
It's like great, splat.
Yeah.
And it completely tears everything apart. It's like the song stops.
Mm-hmm.
And then starts again on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And so there is no intentional understanding of from here to here.
Yeah.
This needs to happen, and this is how I'm going to get there, and this is what makes the song work.
Yeah.
And throwing in, like, say, a flashy fill where you're like, great, ew, what? It's jarring.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think as a guitarist, as someone kind of works with their hands, and maybe you find this too, is sometimes you want to play like everything that but you don't really need to. In a sense, it doesn't. You don't have to play every extension of every chord possibility, and you play kind of what works at a given moment, and kind of create a line. So
there is a fine line between cool and overplayed.
Yeah. And one thing that sort of not bothers me too much, but this idea of playing something that's hip. I mean, this kind of caught wind of this sort of language, just like being around different musicians. And I have to say, I don't think it's that good of a thing to be trying to be hip in a sense. Like I would say, like, try to be hip in your practice session, but when you go to play from the source, like the account that you developed in your practice, but not like go out and try to be hip, or do this really intricate line or something
complex technical thing.
You've got to fit this in somewhere because I worked on it.
You're right. It doesn't work. To me, the hippest players are the ones who play the prettiest things.
Nice.
Because they have an understanding of the song.
Yeah.
And of what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And what will make it better, what will really bring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about like painters. If you paint a bunch of flowers on a white canvas.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of flowers on a white canvas. If you look at like some of these really sappy Victorian painters who are technically brilliant, but stylistically. But what they knew to do was put a velvet black background behind it.
Okay.
Everything comes out.
Yeah.
So that's actually the hip part, is that velvety black background. It's supporting what's in front.
Yeah.
That's the hippest musicians. They're supporting what's in front. They're making it work.
Yeah.
Their time is reliable. Their harmonic sense is reliable. Their technique is reliable. Their gear is reliable. Those are the hippest guys.
Yeah.
Because they have enough understanding to be able to stretch, and play something adventurous.
Yeah.
but they understand that you get to do that once a tune.
Yeah. And a player probably shouldn't be too totally safe, but not be practicing on the bandstand.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to, like for a bass player, you got to push. You have to be, again, harmonically aware of what's going on, what the other players are doing, and that sort of thing. But when I hear bass players who don't swing or don't groove because they're playing, their technique has gotten in the way of their musicality.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst offense to me.
Yeah.
Is you'll hear these guys who are just like, especially slappers. I'm average at it. There's some great slappers out there, but even they know you can't do it all the time unless the song is written around that.
Yeah, where that is like an essential part of the rhythm section, how that's built out of that.
Exactly. Otherwise, it's, you hear guys playing all the fancy runs and things like that. It becomes noise.
Yeah.
And it's unrelated to the experience of that piece of music.
Right. Yeah. So just, I think trying to be genuine, trying to consistently refresh, come back to the moment, and just play lines and leave space. Like we were talking about too. It's just, and I was watching this John Scofield interview with Rick Beato, which, just as an aside, is just such an amazing thing to have a musician interviewing these great musicians.
Yeah, his stuff is awfully good.
Yeah. In my younger years, wanting to hear some of these greats talk about, whatever, playing and stuff, they're being interviewed by maybe a journalist or something, which is totally fine. But can you ask this question, please?
Yeah, we kind of want to know this. What he had for lunch is nice to know, but
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty cool. So I'll mention too, before I forget, like and subscribe.
It's down over there. I never get that right. It's down there somewhere. Yeah, probably right in there.
Yeah. And John sells custom cables.
I do.
Very high quality. And you do some repairs, electrical work.
I do electrical work, and I do setups and kind of general repairs.
Yeah.
For guitars and basses.
Yeah. Obviously, you could do that locally, but there's always mail.
And I do have people send me things.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
But and if you're here in the Mid-Atlantic, I'm in Baltimore. It's easy.
Yeah, let's get back to a little bit of Scofield. So this interview came out a little while ago, but I've been just kind of meaning to watch it. I think I watched like 10 minutes, and then I watched another like 30 last night. And I still need to finish the rest of it, but it's like an hour long. So, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to listen to him talk about timing and the importance of that, and the fact that he still is actively working at that and thinking about it, and trying to I don't know, evaluate. You constantly evaluate your playing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it is so cool that at that level. But I think all the players at that level do that. They're not playing by rote.
Yeah,
they're not just walking out and doing the shtick.
Yeah,
then walking off again.
Right.
It's not a Vegas act. That's carefully. They are. Every musician, if you're awake at all, as you're playing, you know what you did right and wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the wrong list is always longer than the right list.
Yeah. And it's important to move on.
Yeah, you can't beat yourself up.
Yeah, because that is going to, you have to, like I was saying before, maybe just try to refresh. You played a clam, play something that was way too behind the beat, didn't make any sense. And you're just like, well, that's just what it was.
It's what it was. It's gone. It's out there in the ether. Move on.
Yeah.
But know that, okay, that was an issue.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Right.
Yeah. You spend a lifetime learning what not to do.
Yep. And I this applies for myself, but I also talk to students every day about practice. Like, there's a difference between playing and practice. You know, your practice that you're actively looking for problems, and there are problems. The recording process of recording oneself and listening back, I've learned a ton, I think, from that.
Yeah.
You were talking about some exciting things with recording.
Oh, well,
Not to put you on the spot,
No.
but you have some like cool synth things that you can do like real time.
yeah, it's again, but people who watch know I love doing audio on iOS products on especially my iPad Pro.
Yeah.
This thing's just amazing.
Yeah.
So there is a guitar synth on there called MIDI Guitar 2. Brilliant software. So it will let me play basically any MIDI instrument I have in here,
Yeah.
or an external MIDI instrument. 'Cause
Okay.
my interface will do that.
Yeah.
In real time
Okay.
with my bass.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know? So it lets me sit and record things that otherwise, you know, my piano playing is terrible.
Yeah. Mine as well.
6 years of study. Yeah, okay, I can find middle C. But I can play this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to go, oh, okay, I want to, you know, if I'm recording something and that sounds nice, but then I'd like maybe a nice string chord, you know, up on top, or I can program it to do that, you know, and follow me so I can have, I could have an A in the bottom and then, you know, that, but have it,
Just
and with a foot controller sustain that
okay.
part.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, where then I could move it down. You know, so I get to play both parts at the same time. It's handy for me,
Yeah.
but I actually do use it on tracking other people's material.
Okay. Cool.
They're like, I think I want that, or I think I want that. I'm like, well, here.
Yeah. Have you considered? I don't know why I just thought of this, but I had a guitarist who was asking me about double neck guitars, and I was saying, well, maybe use two instruments and put one on a stand.
On a stand, yeah.
You know, and maybe play. Would that apply at all to what you're doing, or?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I really don't think so.
So you can just do it all on one instrument. That's cool.
I can do it all here. If I have had in the past, currently don't own it. No, I own one. 8-string basses
Okay.
with high strings, like high F and high B flat.
Yeah.
That makes it really simple because the trick is low frequency track.
Okay.
As good as stuff is now, tracking low frequencies is hard because the wave period is very long.
Yeah.
So like the software I like, basically it'll go down to D. You know, it'll get me to that,
Okay.
which is cool because then I just think of the instrument as split.
Oh,
You know, it's split around the D, so it doesn't matter where I play it. I just know that's
Okay.
as low as it's going to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's just a built-in split. I don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've looked at double neck instruments and gone, well, that's very silly. Yeah, no reason for
Yeah,
that.
I've never used one, but I know what's the guitarist's name? Stanley Jordan? I think Stanley Jordan. See the tapping?
Yeah.
Sometimes he'll do double neck or two different.
Two different. Yeah, he uses those Vigier guitars,
Okay.
which are graphite necks and stainless steel fingerboards and
Yeah.
pretty amazing stuff. But so yeah, he'll
Yeah.
do
Sometimes he'll
that.
play the piano too.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike Rutherford from Genesis
Yeah.
has been known to play a double neck, but it will be like a 6 and a 12
Yeah.
string guitars,
Yeah.
or
That's what I was
a
recommending.
guitar and a bass,
Yeah. Something like that.
where there is no time to pick up another instrument.
Yeah.
You got to jump from one part to the other, back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a very useful tool. But he actually has, I don't know if you ever saw these, a Sure Gold guitars from
Okay.
England.
Okay.
And it's basically top halves and bottom halves of the instrument, and there's a neck on each.
Yeah.
And so you can pick any two, and they lock together. It's like Legos for double neck instruments.
Yeah.
It works,
Nice.
but you got to have a reason for it.
yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a very heavy thing.
Right, right. Yeah, I was just as one other little tiny thing. I was suggesting get a looper and then maybe have guitar bass
Yeah.
kind of thing. That way you could just stand and not have to change anything loop a cool bass line and play with that, switch over to the other neck, and then
Yeah.
you can switch back, lay down, layer. You could do it the opposite way around. I think that would be pretty
That would.
fun and cool to do. You could do that on a gig or something.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, if you've got an iOS device and you want to use it live, I highly recommend it. Get a low latency interface, you're good.
Yeah.
But there's programs like Loopy Pro, which is ridiculously powerful looper.
Okay.
And you could have 24 loops, like working or ready to go.
Okay.
So you can have preset loops and all this stuff's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, just on iOS, there are some incredibly good loopers for under $10.
Wow. So they are software that sits
Right.
on your device.
Yeah, runs in the device, and then you just get your audio in and out through the appropriate interface.
Yeah.
You're good.
Very cool.
There's, the Roland. I tried the Roland loopers.
Okay.
I've tried all of them.
Have you? Yeah.
No, I could never get the hang of playing and having to tap a button 3 times to make it do something.
Yeah, that's with a lot of equipment. I find, I don't know if I'm just like more mechanically oriented or what, but once I get in the digital screen and all this stuff, it just is really hard to do that on the fly at a gig when you're supposed to be playing something.
Right. Well, this is where it was like you have a Macmillan Soft Step. I had one for years. Finally killed it. So I built a MIDI foot controller.
Okay.
Because I do things like that. So that has, the one I currently has 12 switches
Okay.
that I can assign to anything. It's a generic MIDI thing. So that's useful.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I 3D printed different color caps for all the switches, so I can
Awesome.
say, okay, the green ones do this, the red ones do this, the yellow ones do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I can do it. But yeah, some of the stuff, it's like they built so many features into it, you're having to having to like tap a switch 2 or 3 times. I saw it with Roland, that bugged
Really?
me.
Okay. Yeah.
To make it, it's like you have to skip over 2 functions to get to the third because they don't have 12 switches on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got around that. Yeah. So there's things like the Morningstar company makes incredible MIDI foot switchers.
Okay.
They're just ridiculously good. They're beautiful. They have screens. They have a million ins and outs.
Yeah.
And they're built like tanks.
I'll have to check that out because I haven't heard them.
Yeah, they're a lot of solo guys like them. A lot of keyboard players
Yeah.
really like them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can assign MIDI anything to anything, and it's 5-pin MIDI and USB MIDI,
Yeah.
and it's got like 4 expression pedal jacks.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've done quite a few solo things over the years, and I found that sitting there, by myself, trying to hold down a little bit of a bass note, or and playing all the chords, it's just kind of a lot. I've always enjoyed more ensemble playing.
Yeah.
And the looper is really helpful. So I had a regular gig at a restaurant hotel sort of thing, weekly thing, and I was using a looper. I was using a Pigtronics looper. At first, I started just on the fly doing stuff and putting down parts, and which was nice. But that's really what set off my whole recording interest. Was I mean, like, why don't I just lay down something that goes for
have your pre-recorded track.
and just play play that so
I mean, it's fun to live stack parts.
You get into a little bit of limitation, you get into a lot of things have to go right.
Yeah exactly. So I mean, pre-recording this is why I like program like app like Loopy Pro, where you can have the preset tracks and preset clips. That's the neat thing, is you can have clip players, and the way these loopers on iOS are working now, the time will align automatically.
Very cool.
So you don't have to say no, you just say this is the start of this clip. And when you trigger it, it will actually wait for the time to come by.
That's good.
And start.
Yeah, when I first started doing it, I found that I had to get really good at hitting that switch at just the right moment.
That's the other problem. Yeah, and this will actually let you tell it, I think, yeah, Loopy Pro does it, and a couple others do it, where you tell it the tempo, give it a tap tempo,
Yeah.
and then it won't start until you do
Yeah.
for the first one, and then everything else will line up to that.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, I think Ableton does that. I really need to learn how to use my own DAW.
I'm going to get you on iOS stuff. I really am, because
Right.
it is so much easier.
Nice.
So, yeah, there's lots of cool stuff. You have any questions about the iOS stuff? I love this stuff. I've spent a lot of time on it, so
Yeah.
ask, please.
Yeah, and the core audio, honestly, it's excellent.
Yeah.
And working with Windows, it's
ASIO drivers.
highly problematic, but
Yeah, I don't allow Windows in the house. I view it as a giant security hole wrapped in betaware.
the thing that really got me about them is when they started soldering in the like RAM sticks and stuff.
and
That just really bothered me
on
for
Mac?
whatever reason. Yeah, like the the Mac. Because I would have a MacBook and it would be like after a couple years or something, I'll upgrade the RAM. Just pull that out and
yeah.
put in. It's not that big of a deal, but it's kind of like
Well, no, and at this point, they've got the RAM so efficient.
yeah,
That's the trade-off. It's like, I've got, what do I have, 8 or 16 gig of RAM in this thing and a terabyte hard drive
yeah,
in an iPad.
yeah. That's awesome.
That's plenty. I've actually tried to make the thing choke, and I did, but it was doing so much that you would never, ever do that in real life.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I love to tweak with my own stuff.
yeah,
But, that's why I took an old MacBook Pro that you can change this stuff on and put Linux on it. And that's
okay.
everything else.
Cool. I guess I'll mention this high pass filter.
Yeah.
You were talking about a high pass filter. So I picked up this pedal from Broughton Audio. Check them out. Again, not endorsed or anything. It just seemed like they had a pretty slick and simple solution. That's generally what I'm looking for from a product is something that just does basic stuff.
Right.
So this has a little gain knob. It has the low pass, like you say, and
the
it has
high
a high
pass.
pass, which is really cool too.
Yeah, the high pass is, we talked about last time. I will keep saying it. I think it's vital.
Yeah. It's easy to get those mixed around in my head, but yeah, the high pass feature is what I was mainly after there, which cuts the lows, lets the highs pass through.
But low pass can be very handy, especially if sometimes you get a piece of gear that every part of it is brilliant except way up high. Like, we're talking 15, 20K up there.
Yeah.
There's noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably from the power supply, but there's junk up there.
Yeah.
And it's not doing you any good. You're not playing up there. Most people do not have information happening up there when they play.
Yeah.
Knock it off.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed this really weird spike in my recordings. It's somewhere way up there. I should nail down the exact hertz, but it's just this weird little spike that's in there. I don't know if it's electrical interference. Or
Yeah, it could be an interface thing. It could be power system in the studio here.
Yeah.
It could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a list, but like you and I both use isotope stuff. You can preset a notch.
Yeah. Yep.
So after you do a recording, just run it through that.
Yeah. I was going to get to this earlier, but that's okay. So we have a comment or question from Chip is powder coating Charles. Not sure what that means.
I'm guessing Chip does powder coating, which
Okay.
is really cool.
Nice.
Actually, yeah, for metals and stuff. And
Okay.
some plastics.
Okay.
Powder coating is incredibly cool.
What are we talking about here?
It's basically you take a piece of metal that you want, instead of painting it, it is sprayed with a kind of an epoxy coating. So sort of a plastic epoxy coating.
Yeah.
And they use electricity to make it stick. Basically, the gun is positive charge, the metal item is negative charge. It's fun to watch because these guys just kind of wave it around and goes and sticks on there. And they put it in an oven and bake it for a little while. and it fuses and gives you that beautiful glossy, nice even color. I suspect that box
That came to my mind right when you said that.
yeah, you'll see a lot of pedals are powder coated because it is really, really strong.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it looks professional
It
and
looks-
polished.
And you can get a million different colors. You can get chrome powder coating and
Yeah.
all this other stuff.
Very cool.
It's a great way to finish a metal item. So anyway, Chip, cool.
Yeah.
That's a
I'm gonna in this comment, I'm going to timestamp when we talk about this, and I'm just gonna put it right in his comments so he can be
Good.
sure to find that. Says he's a player, chord inversion's down, major scale's good, harmonic minor scale's okay, melodic minor so sort of little.
Yeah.
But I mean, the major scale is your highest priority.
yeah.
And that covers your relative minor. Says his arpeggios aren't so good. How does he leap forward? What should he do?
There's a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
Some people, I've encouraged students to do this. You have note practice and technique practice.
Okay.
So if your arpeggios are not going well, is it mental or mechanical?
Okay.
Are you having trouble with the notes, or are you having trouble mechanically moving
Yeah.
one of these?
Right. Because it's bigger distances than the scales.
Right.
That may be one issue mechanically.
I think so. And sometimes that cross-picking thing is very difficult.
Okay. Yeah.
And with arpeggios, you're really,
Yeah.
especially if you want them to be even.
Yeah.
But so I would say first decide what it is.
Yeah.
If it's mechanical, video yourself or sit in front of a mirror
Yeah.
and watch yourself and see what you do. Video is great. Use your phone, stick it up.
Yeah.
Record 30 seconds of yourself and go, oh, that's not good. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if it's a mechanical issue or kind of technique issue, one thing you might try to do, like a lot of guitarists have an easy time with pentatonics, which I think the reason for that is that you can play 2 notes per string, and it's just you're just kind of vertically going this way. So you could take a 4-note arpeggio and do the 2 notes per string thing, but you move up. So if you had a G7, then you might play, just kind of move 2 notes per string and do that thing. And that's going to help move you this way, which is really where you want to be.
Yeah.
Horizontal and vertical, but you watch Wes Montgomery and it's all this way and this way, and he can do this thing, but he's playing horizontally on that.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Soloing seems to fit better sometimes, depending on the tune. If I'm playing this way,
Okay.
If I'm playing a groove,
More vertical. Okay.
yeah, I'm thinking across.
Yeah.
Because, I have that reach,
Okay.
especially on a 6, so I can't. But if I'm playing, yeah,
Yeah.
changes the way you think about a line.
Yep.
Because sometimes it can be hard to, if you get that sits weird this way sometimes.
Yeah.
Although you guys have that little cheating string there with that third.
There's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. So yeah, that's good. I think doing that, going that way and doing it with each interval.
Okay. Yeah.
Makes sense, especially if you're looking, if you want to play, just that
Yeah.
kind of as an arpeggio, so you're going to see E, G, go through all the intervals from the root,
Yeah.
all the intervals from the third, intervals from the fifth,
Right.
and just
Be able to start from any one of those.
yeah,
4 notes.
because then the arpeggios just become this. You have this big thing of notes to pick from, and you sort of frame
Yeah.
where in that thing you want to pick from.
Yeah. 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 And the one thing I would say too is try to pick something that you're really strong with, and see if you can use that as a springboard to try to fill in the gaps. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. So you say, Chip, you say, you're great on major scales.
Yeah.
Let's start there. Start slowly. Though.
Yeah.
I know it can be so frustrating where you really want to, you really want to fly.
Yeah. But practice slow with
Slow is harder.
yeah. And if you're trying to get better with arpeggios and you're good at scales, try to find the arpeggios they're buried in there.
Yeah, yeah.
They're right in there.
They're there. They're all there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many things. I mean, really slowing it down and just start with major arpeggios. Don't worry about doing the whole Eddie Ingve thing if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
Practice for 20 years, you'll get there.
Right.
But just being able to, knowing what that is,
Yeah.
and being able to,
Yeah. And then working in context of a tune, I think that's very important too. Work on changes and
because if
stretches.
if that exists by itself, it's a great practice thing.
Yeah.
Useless.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a bunch of notes strung together. You need to find its place in the music itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you can play a scale in a position, everything like in the range of a position, that's one thing. And then, but really, if you're going to play a tune that has like a pretty rapid harmonic rhythm, you're probably only going to play 4 of those notes.
Right.
So for agility, try to choose 4 notes and see if you can play those same exact 4 notes on the next chord. Or maybe it doesn't work. So maybe you have to change one of them or a couple of them and create lines,
Exactly.
compose lines.
Compose lines. Yeah, we as players are composing as much as the person who actually composed the tune.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing jazz. My favorite is still that Homer Simpson quote. It's like, oh, those jazz guys are just making it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's spontaneous improvisation.
Yeah. You are. So I love playing jazz bass, because a great bass line is its own, should be able to stand by itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a it's a melody, but it can also be a counter melody.
Yeah. Nice.
And I love that when I can get it to sit right.
Yeah. I was really encouraged by something that John Scofield said in his interview with Rick Beato, which was that he sometimes will improvise and record himself and then listen back and say, oh, that could make its way into a tune.
Yeah.
For me, that's encouraging because I have such a resistance to writing. Because I have a terrible lack of patience, I think, or something.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
But it's kind of funny because John Scofield in this interview, you should definitely go watch it. But he's kind of like, he writes for albums, tours and albums, so that the band he's playing with has something to play on.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually tried doing the thing where I record myself playing, and then I'm feeding it into one of these AI music transcription things.
Oh yeah.
And letting it spit the notes out, because
cool.
I am that lazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate to sit down and write, because one time I was doing copyist work, transcribing music or scribing music for big bands. We had 18, 20, 22, 24 people. So you've got a score, and it's all the parts. And you have to take each part and write it out.
Yeah.
That is my definition of hell.
Yeah.
It is the most tedious, time-consuming, annoying thing to do.
Yeah.
So I love taking this new technology.
Yeah.
I can feed a line in, and it spits it out and says, you played that, and I can take the 3 notes that I thought were cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to send me the link to that. I had a transcribing/arranging job for a period of time, and it was Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was like, go get a cup of coffee and put 2 shots of espresso in that coffee and sit down for 5 hours.
Yeah.
I didn't write stuff out.
I admire guys that can do that. I really do, but I'm not one of them.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I was either, transcribing, this line, or I'd write original, all depending on what the school needed for their band program. But I mean, it's good for your ear. It's good for the skills of reading music, because you're doing the opposite, writing down, and you start to get more of a connection with all that. And
Yeah, record yourself.
yeah,
Just,
absolutely.
really, that is probably the most useful thing we have now.
I think so. Yeah, record, listen back.
If you need to, transcribe yourself. Record yourself and then play it back and go, oh, well, that was cool. And then you can sit down, listen, transcribe yourself, and listen and go, you say, oh, well, I like that.
Yeah.
You'll surprise yourself by how much cool stuff you're playing.
Yeah.
It's just hidden amongst the other stuff.
Yeah.
Which is how I feel about all my playing. There's 3 cool notes in a tune. The rest of it is,
Yeah.
the other thing you could try, years ago, I got to study with the great Rick Laird from Mahavishnu Orchestra. A really cool person, very interesting. We just lost him this year. But he had this exercise that I still do, which is take a piece of staff paper,
Okay.
no clef, no key signature, and just start putting dots in.
Okay.
Cover it.
Yeah.
Then start adding rhythms. Or he would say, okay, here's all the dots. Let's now call this key of F. Play it.
Yeah.
Then treat everything as an 8th note.
Yeah.
And just read it.
Nice.
It's almost like automatic writing. There's a Victorian term. You can look it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that sort of thing where you're just spewing notes out onto a page and then play it.
Yeah.
You start to learn things very fast. It's amazing how fast you're like, oh, that was cool. That was neat. That was awful. That's cool.
Yeah. And I don't want to give too much away from that interview, but along similar lines, John Scofield was saying, I think he learned this from Steve Swallow. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but he said you just put in that hard work and something good's gonna happen. You just do it. So that's pretty cool and encouraging.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so Chip, I hope some of this helped.
Yeah.
But first define where you're struggling.
Right.
Is it theory? Is it mechanical? Record yourself and slow down.
Slow down, yeah.
Slow.
I think intent can really works just as well in the practice,
Absolutely.
What is your intention? What are you trying to do right now? Does it connect with your hearing? Try to play the note, mirror it in your own mind, sing along, even internally or externally.
Absolutely. And I've done things where I will spend a practice session in one key.
Yeah.
Just working through one key.
Yep.
It's like, all right, today's E flat day.
Yeah.
and go through all the cool things you can do with E flat.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see, I want to mention I Can See Your House From Here as a cool album.
Yeah.
For sure to check out. Very awesome. John Scofield and Pat Metheny. Metheny's got his synth sound on some of those tunes, mostly I think during the solos, but
Yeah, it's a great thing with Scofield's sound.
yeah.
I like that combination.
Yeah, and it's really kind of cool to hear Metheny playing that solid body and also just to listen back, you can tell the language of one versus the other and the tone and the different nuances and so it's fun to listen to a guitar album like that with 2 guitarists and just kind of hear that interplay and stuff. So yeah, check that out. So I'm gonna have a tune from that album coming out here as soon as I can get it together. Both backing track wise, and I'm also learning and kind of researching how to play it too. So,
Cool.
Very cool. Thanks so much, John. Don't forget John's cables, high quality cables with all the Nutric and all of the
It's all the good ends.
all the good stuff.
I have my favorite German manufacturer who makes the bulk cable that I buy. And
nice.
it's the best stuff I found for a reasonable price.
Mm-hmm.
I can get better, but the price becomes exponentially higher. And
Yeah.
that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. Law of diminishing returns too. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, if you've got the budget and the ears, great.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this is what you see in the best recording studios and stuff. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. So thanks so much for checking this out. Do like and subscribe, and we will see you all in the next
see you
one.
next time.